the request to the broken party.
Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and I am joined by my, I'm going to call you my Austin bestie, because if I lived here, we would totally be besties.
Yes, we would.
So you guys know Carly Pollack because I interviewed her like literally, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was pretty soon.
Yeah, and you guys, I had so many of you tell me that you had to listen to that episode twice, and that's not something I hear very often. So I am here in Austin with her to interview her again because she's got so much amazing knowledge in her head that she can give you guys and just bless you with, especially because it's the beginning of the new year. It's 2018 officially. It's January 2nd right now as we're recording this. And today's topic is truly something that I want you guys to take to heart and really make it your thing in 2018. Yes?
Totally.
So tell them what we're talking about.
Okay. What we're going to talk about today is how to get to the root of changing your behaviors permanently. And the surprise is that it has nothing to do with your behavior.
You guys, this applies to every single freaking one of you, just so you know.
And it applies not just to food. It applies to your relationships. It applies to your job, to the way you talk to yourself. It's everything. It's a formula for life.
Right.
I come back to this formula every single day. I'll share with you what happened to me this morning in a little bit and how I use the formula to totally change my state and change my behaviors.
Really?
Yeah, it's super powerful.
So when we were talking about what we were going to talk about, she basically gave me a few different topics that she can talk about. Like I said, this is the second interview, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a third and a fourth, because this chick is like super smart, but she's also fun. She's got a great personality, and she's cool to hang out with. But we were talking
Staten Island.
Yeah, that's why.
You have to be cool.
Totally.
And you have to hide the third eye and the 11th finger that you have from living so close to the hugest dump in the world.
Oh, yeah. Minor detail there. Mm-hmm. But now you're in Austin. Green, living, and
I have detox.
Yes, you have detox. In fact, when I got to her house, she and her husband had just finished making a bunch of things of green juice. She made some for me. I'm not going to lie. Don't be jealous.
We drank soda for breakfast, and I was like, get out the green juice.
I'm just kidding.
Lauren's coming. Make juice now.
No, in fact, before we start talking about this, I have to give everyone a heads up because she and I are kind of like-minded in a lot of ways. And I was going to have a photo shoot today after this interview. And I told her I ended up canceling it because after being at home with my family and just the holidays, like I'm feeling not at my best. But she was like, yeah, no, I've done that before. And the photographers can easily make photos look not like us, but both of us are very much of like, hey, this is who I am. And I will never preach that I have a perfect body, but I definitely, I know that I can be a little bit better for my photo shoot where I'm happy and comfortable in my skin. I mean, I'm comfortable in skin, don't get me wrong, but.
You know, it's funny. So yes, I didn't want him to Photoshop ever my waist or anything like that. But before the very first photo shoot I ever had for the first website that we had, I went and got my teeth whitened, and that hurts.
Oh, yes, it does.
It's chemicals, but I'm very vain, so I was like, I'm going to get my teeth whitened. And then at the photo shoot, he was like, it takes me 2 seconds, and I can just make your teeth whiter. And I was like, that I would like
that I'm okay with.
Don't make me look thinner because that's fake.
Yes.
But please make my teeth whiter and have me not sit with some light that was making my gums, hurt.
Oh yeah. And super sensitive. So, okay. So she and I are both like-minded in the fact that we are the way in which we approach life, nutrition, habits, whatnot, very like-minded. So what brought you into learning this? Because when you asked if we had talked about this, you were kind of surprised that we hadn't talked about this broad topic, which is actually something that everyone can benefit from, no matter female, male, age, whatever.
Yeah, it's the most general and most helpful thing that I could tell a room full of people, no matter who's in the room.
Okay.
How'd I get here is that I was really sick of doing the same thing over and over again. I remember having this moment where I went to this restaurant where they have this dessert section, and I picked up a couple of these cookies and I ate this double chocolate chip cookie randomly, it was gluten-free, dairy-free, but it still gave me the worst stomach ache, and not just eat a cookie bloated, but I had to sit up in bed later that night. I don't know what is in that cookie, but it gave me the worst stomach ache in the world.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself, I am never eating that cookie again.
Right.
And let's say that was on a Sunday. Then on Friday, I went to the movies with my sister. There's a movie theater here called the Alamo Draft House, which you can eat.
I love the Draft House.
I felt like
yes.
I had to give you the feel-good memories.
I used to live in Austin, guys. I'm an Austinite for sure.
So the Alamo Draft House, you can order food. And my sister always orders the 3-cookie trio. And it comes warm cookies with a glass of milk. Hello. While you're watching. The days of popcorn are like so basic.
Screw popcorn. I want my cookie.
And so I said to her, let's smuggle in some gluten-free, dairy-free cookies so I can eat them too.
Right.
And I went to the same place and I got the same cookies and I got that dark chocolate cookie for her. I said, I'm just going to get it for her. I'm not going to eat it because it gave me a stomach ache, but she would love it. And then I'm eating the cookie. This was like 4 days after I was sitting up with a stomach ache. And then the movie theater, it looked so good. Well, whatever. I eat it. I have the same stomach ache. And when I did inventory, which is another podcast topic that we can talk about, but when I did inventory later that night, I stepped back for the first time and said, something's amiss here.
Yeah.
Here I am really in the truth, really believing, Brene Brown calls it a lie told honestly, which I love because in the moment that we say it, we really truly believe it.
Yeah.
When I was sitting in bed saying, I will never eat this again, there was no part of me that felt I was lying.
No.
Like I was very in the truth.
Yes.
And
that's me every time with ice cream.
Of course.
Yeah.
Every time with anything that causes pain after we do it. When we're in the pain piece, we say, absolutely not. Humans don't do anything that causes us pain.
Yeah.
So we say, no, I'm not doing this. But what we don't realize is that the mind works in the way that it captures the feeling we have in the moment that we're doing the behavior, not after.
Right.
So while I was eating the cookie, I was experiencing pleasure because it tasted so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I didn't remember the pain that was even 5 hours later. The brain doesn't make that connection.
Crazy.
The brain makes the connection, eat the cookie, it tastes good. Afterward, I'm in pain making all of these truthful statements to myself. Not realizing that is not the way the brain works.
Right.
If you have ever eaten at a restaurant, left feeling very full, or had a fight with your partner, or got caught at work doing something, and you're in the aftermath of it, and you say, oh, I learned my lesson, I'll never do that. And then you find yourself doing it again, talking smack and getting caught, getting into the same pattern of, in relationships, we have patterns. You're in the same arguing pattern. And then after you make up and you say, why do I do that thing when he or she does that thing? When you catch yourself banging your head against the wall going, why do I keep doing this again and again?
Yes.
You need to realize that it's not you're not lazy. It's not that you have a lack of willpower. It's not that you're a glutton for punishment. It's that the brain works the primordial brain works in a certain way. And you have to really pattern the brain and scramble those messages. I will uncover for you how to do that through teaching you this formula.
And, hearing you talk about this, like there are so many of the people that I have helped that I'm, and not just them, me too, that there are certain things in my life that I keep doing the same. Like I had heartburn on Christmas Day. Heartburn.
I gave myself eczema. Hello.
I found myself in that same, like, oh my gosh, because I ate dairy and gluten that day, and every time, and what do you know? I did the same damn thing the next day. So
yesterday, I'm writing a book, and I was writing the chapter on conscious eating. The chapter is called "Silence the Fat Kid Within." Chapter 6, conscious eating.
Yes.
Silence the fat kid within.
Yes.
I then wrote the chapter, then went into the fridge, started eating some a kind bar mindlessly, came back, reread the chapter that I wrote, and then said, wow, this is really good stuff here. Yeah. This is the mind. This is why when I take inventory, the very first step is to be out of judgment, is to forgive myself for whatever it is that I've done. We're so stuck in the judgment piece of that that question that's really not a question. It's a judgment with a question mark. So it's a statement. It's a judgment in the outfit of a question, which is like, what's wrong with me? Why did I do that? There's no real answer to that.
Right.
We're saying there's something wrong with me. I did this because and then insert your judgment piece. Whenever you're in judgment, you completely shut yourself off from learning something new, learning how to grow, learning what it is that the mind is doing and how to shift it. It's a little cheesy, but it's one of the most important things is that you have to be out of judgment. So here you are, you have heartburn.
Yes.
Dr. Lauren, doctor of medicine, famous podcast, whatever. You have heartburn. In our last podcast, I told you I gave myself eczema in 3 months being pregnant and eating gluten and dairy because of me saying I don't care, and then saying, wow, the irony is thick.
Yeah, irony is very thick. So
I'm like, all you guys don't eat inflammatory foods. Oh, I have eczema all over my body.
Look at that.
And to not be in the judgment piece of that.
Yes.
Because one, it's very humbling, and I think in a good way.
It is.
Right? You had heartburn. You said, wow, all the days that I don't have heartburn, I don't realize that I don't have heartburn. I just do what I need to do. And then when you have heartburn, you go, wow, I'm so happy that I do the things not to have heartburn because this stinks.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, I can't believe people live like this every single day.
Yeah.
They experience that every single day. That's terrible.
It is horrible.
Oh,
heartburn is the worst.
It is.
I feel like.
And you're how many weeks pregnant right now?
19.
Do you get heartburn?
It's not right now, but I was before.
Okay, yeah.
I'm very gassy, and there's a lot of other things that happen. Heartburn today, folks, is not on the list. And you know what? I wasn't grateful for it, so thank you for bringing
There you go. There you go.
Oh, I'm so grateful I don't have heartburn.
But towards your 3rd trimester, as the baby pushes up on the stomach, the heartburn probably will happen.
Thanks.
Just so you know.
Yeah, no, super excited.
Yeah.
Also super excited about the time where I have to push it out of my body.
Yeah.
I try not to think about that. Okay, so back to the formula.
Back to the formula.
I started to trace people's behaviors. I started this formula backwards. So we're going to start backward and then I'll say it forward.
Okay.
When people would come in to see me, they would come in with the consequence, which is the very end of this formula.
Right.
They're in consequence, meaning they want to lose weight, so they're already overweight.
Right.
Or they're coming to me for spiritual coaching and they're already riddled with anxiety and depression. Or they have cancer, or they have Hashimoto's, or whatever it is, they're already in it.
Right.
So they're no longer in the preventative piece of even just the behavior, not just the disease, but they're not preventing, they're already treating the consequence of this.
Right.
Then from the consequence, I look to see what behavior caused it.
Okay.
So let's say we're sticking with an example that someone's consequence is that they're overweight.
Okay.
Then I'm looking at what are your behaviors. Let's say one of their behaviors is that they eat sugar every single night.
Okay.
So they have dessert every single night.
Okay.
From that behavior, I then go a step deeper and I ask them, what emotion, how are they feeling when they go to grab whatever the dessert is that they're grabbing at night?
Okay.
And so let's say the emotion is that they're feeling a craving.
Okay.
The emotion is desire.
Okay.
The emotion is exhaustion. It's fatigue. It's feeling like something's missing. So an emotion is anything that you can say the word feel in front of. I feel tired, angry, bored, excited. This means that cravings are emotions because we feel this pull, this desire for something. I'm looking at their emotion, and then at the very base, I'm looking at the thought. So let's do it. So let's talk about the formula the correct way.
Okay.
Thoughts drive everything you feel. There's nothing you don't feel that first started as a thought.
Yep. I
remember saying to one of my coaches a long time ago, I wake up and I just automatically have anxiety. He said, no, you don't. I said, no.
No, I really do.
No, I do. I open my eyes and I have a pit in my stomach. He said, no, you don't. It may take only 2 seconds, but you wake up in peace. And then there is a subconscious or unconscious even. Subconscious runs right under the surface. Unconscious, you don't even recognize it.
Right.
Conscious is obviously you have the thought. He said either it's subconscious or unconscious because you don't realize it, but emotion never happens first. Thought always happens first.
Okay, that totally makes sense.
Still to this day, it is so funny. If I go on vacation or I take a week off work, The first day I go back,
Yeah.
I wake up and I have a little bit of
Really?
the Jewish word is spilkus.
Yeah.
Spilkus. That's what my mother would say. You have a little spilkus. And I have this little feeling and I say, okay, what am I feeling? And it's just funny. It's just that I haven't been at work. I don't know. There's this thought, maybe I've forgotten everything I've learned.
Right. Well, you get out of habit.
You get out of habit. The thought is unconscious. Are you prepared for work?
Uh-huh.
Which, remember, look at that question. We could do a whole thing on questions and that's not really a question, you guys.
Yeah.
That's a judgment. You're not prepared.
Yes.
But I go, are you prepared?
Yep.
With the tone of that question is what creates anxiety, because truly I'm saying you may not be prepared. You should be in fear.
Yes.
That drives the emotion of anxiety. Now, the behavior, whatever we feel, drives how we act. So everything we think drives how we feel.
Right.
How we feel drives how we behave, our behaviors.
Right.
Our behaviors are either going to give us a reward or a consequence.
Mm.
And from there, there's a feedback.
And there's no in between.
There is no in between. It is extremely black and white.
Yes.
When growing up, I had a lot of anxiety. I was an incredibly anxious kid.
Yeah.
Instead of tending towards depression, everything made me scared. I was scared of everything.
Okay.
I used to look at anxiety as the worst curse. If you've never suffered from anxiety, no one really gets it.
Right.
But for the people listening who have anxiety, they totally get it. It feels like a curse.
Controls you.
It controls you. And anxiety trips anxiety, meaning as soon as you start to feel it, so does depression. As soon as you start to feel it at a 2, the fact that you feel it brings you to a 6.
Mm.
You know, you go, I'm anxious. I'm anxious. I should be, what am I anxious about?
Right.
And then I'm at a 7, and then I'm at a 9, and then you feel like you can't control it, eventually leading to a panic attack.
Right. Right.
Now I look at my emotions as their gifts. It's a touchstone for me to look at my thoughts. I know if I change my thoughts, I'll change my entire life. My behavior will change. My emotional state will change.
Uh-huh.
My emotion is a way that I check in to say, well, what am I thinking? So let me give you an example.
I like that.
Yesterday it was in the afternoon, a few hours before, I got an email from my designer for the website. Very long story, very short, is that we're creating 2 new websites, and it's been one of those things where it's like 6 months, pay this. It didn't work. Don't use that designer. Back to square one on a deadline.
With that.
And totally out of your control, but very frustrating.
Very.
Finally, I convinced this designer, who's my old designer, to take on the project. And then I get an email from her yesterday going, you know what? I feel horrible. I really can't take this on.
Oh.
So I get the email. I go, okay, plot twist, which is a good way to get plot twist. Okay. And then I'm kind of moping around, and I don't realize it right away because I'm not super clued in for whatever reason, probably because I didn't do my grounding work and I didn't meditate yesterday, but I'm not clued in. But my husband says to me later that night, he's like, is everything okay? And that triggered me to go, I'm kind of in a shitty mood.
Yeah.
I feel a little anxious.
Yeah.
Well, there's my emotional state. So I'm catching it mid-formula. The truth is, if I didn't catch it, by 9 p.m., I would have been eating something crappy.
Yes.
And I might have caught it in the inventory of that going, why did I just eat an entire bar of dark chocolate?
Or a pint of ice cream.
Or a pint of ice cream. Or, why did I eat popcorn for dinner or whatever it is? But I caught it in mid-formula, which is I caught the emotion and said, yeah, I don't feel good right now.
Yeah.
And then I went back to my thoughts. I said, well, I know if I don't feel good, I know if I feel like crap, I'm thinking like crap.
So wait, say that again.
If I feel like
listeners
crap,
need to write this down.
If I feel like crap, I'm thinking like crap. And let's do the whole thing. If your behaviors stink, then your emotions are negative, and then your thoughts stink. They're all connected.
Yes.
So I went back into my thoughts and I said, well, what am I thinking right now? I know I got that email, which is neutral. The email is neutral.
Right.
Everything that happens in life is neutral. It's the story you put on it that then makes it positive or negative.
I like that.
There is this Buddhist story that they teach where this woman is walking down the block and she looks down and sees a cat eating a baby bird's nest.
Okay.
And she says to the cat, "Bad cat." And the cat says, "Good bird."
I love it. Yeah.
I always think about that story because
it's a beautiful story.
If you're a
so
cat
true.
lover, you say, well, the cat has to eat. If you're a bird lover, you say that hideous murdering monster.
Yes.
Everything is in fact neutral. I know in the most extreme case, it's very hard for people to wrap their mind around tragedies being neutral, but you could have a horrible tragedy and one person says, okay, good, we're finally going to get clear, one step closer to making change. And for them, it's actually a positive thing. Yeah. And then for someone who's in the tragedy or affected by the tragedy, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
I don't ever mean to invalidate someone's experience, but the real truth of it is that everything is neutral.
That's so true.
Therefore, the email she sent to me not being able to do the project is neutral. I could tell because I was feeling bad that the spin that I was putting on it was negative.
Yep.
So I just do a little check-in. I'm like, well, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that this isn't happening as quickly as I want it to, and I wasted money, and now am I going to be able to find somebody else? Look at that question.
Yes.
It's not a question. It's really, I'm not going to be able to find somebody else.
Absolutely.
And the fear that comes up around that.
Absolutely.
So I changed my focus and I reframed. And this is something that I want to teach everyone today. Reframing is simply taking the statement that you're thinking and spinning it to say the polar opposite. So if you're thinking a statement that's making you feel bad, I need you to think the opposite thing because that'll make you feel good.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I have, and we can talk about this at another time, but I have created a set of 5 new core beliefs that I choose in my spiritual practice to believe, not that were given to me by life.
Okay.
Because the core beliefs that are given to you by life are you're not safe and you have to do everything yourself and you're not enough and all of these survival core beliefs.
Right, right.
And over time, that's created so much chaos in my life. I thought, oh, I need to make core beliefs that I want to believe in that would make me feel good, therefore make me behave in a way that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the core beliefs and the one that I used as a tool yesterday was that everything is unfolding perfectly. Everything is unfolding perfectly. There is nothing amiss here. This is exactly how it's supposed to go.
That's speaking to my soul right now. You have no idea.
So I said to myself, what if the next person I find, it's the perfect person, it's the right time, she has even better ideas for the 2 new websites. Do I feel immediately more at peace if I say to myself, it's all in perfect plan? Yes, it's a big exhale.
Yes.
I'm so excited to reach out to the next person. But notice my mind wanted to go into the blame game. I'm like, she said she could do it. And wait, my developer said she was going to reach out to somebody. She didn't reach out to somebody.
I mean, I think that that's the natural thing that most of us do.
It's the survival mechanism.
It is. It is.
Changed my thoughts. Immediately my emotions felt better. And I didn't.
And you didn't eat the pint of ice cream.
I didn't eat the pint. I didn't even need to rectify the behavior. But I will tell you that a lot of the time you'll use this formula because you'll be triggered because you did a behavior that isn't in alignment with the way you want to live your life. So don't judge it, but you say, ooh, I just said this, ate this, did this. I skipped this workout for the 5th time in a row. I made this goal and then I didn't hit it. Forget the judgment. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of energy. And it definitely doesn't get you to do the thing you want to do.
Right.
Use this formula. Hey, I skipped the workout because I was feeling really rushed.
Yeah.
I was feeling really rushed because I had this thought, and a thought that most people work on is that there's not enough time in the day.
Yes.
I caught myself yesterday. I literally said to my husband, if there were more hours to the day, it's never a good thing to think.
No,
because there's not. There's not more hours to the day.
I just had this conversation yesterday with a loved one.
Yeah. My husband said, yeah, I wish there were 36-hour days I could do, because I had said to you, now that I'm pregnant, I sleep so much more.
Right.
And the time that I would meditate and do all of this stuff, I'm now sleeping.
Right.
So I wake up and I go, wait, now I don't have time. Yet I watched the Hunger Games movie, which is like 14 hours long yesterday.
It's a long movie.
So we make time for the things that are important to us. I'm not saying that it was a wrong choice for me to watch it.
No.
Sometimes it is the right choice to skip the workout. Sometimes it is the right choice to eat the restaurant meal and not to cook.
Right.
But if you choose that choice over and over again, and it becomes a habit, there is going to be a consequence to that repeated behavior.
Yes.
If you have that repeated behavior, you have to go to your thoughts. It's the only way to truly make permanent change, is to say, what am I thinking about this? And then reframe.
And man, so many of our listeners struggle with conscious eating and their eating habits that lead to the overweight status. And that's the only way ultimately they're going to break the cycle. I've spoken to so many people that have had, gastric bypass surgery and some sort of altering of their anatomy to help fix the consequences of their actions. And then the reality is, if they don't learn how to change their thoughts, they're going to go right back. It'll be a few years longer than normal, but they will go right back to where they were before they were that patient being pre-opped for gastric bypass.
The show, what was the show back in the day with the scary trainer?
Biggest Loser.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's her name? I love her, but she was scary.
Julian
Yes, she was scary.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be scary.
Yeah.
Biggest Loser. Over half of the contestants that won gained over 100 pounds back.
It's 98%. It's way past 50%.
That's so sad.
Yes.
Because there was no thought changing. There was just behavior modification. This is why diets don't work, because diets modify behavior only. That's the end piece of the formula. I don't even care about that part of the formula.
Yeah.
That formula, I said, the surprise, it has nothing to do with your behaviors. I don't even care about the behaviors.
Yeah.
So they take these people and they put them in another situation where they're in this, camp or fat camp, basically. And they say, eat this, don't eat that. That's what diets do. Move this way, don't move that way. Drink this, don't drink that. But it doesn't explore why we are driven to do that. Okay, there's one more step to this formula. So we're clear. Thoughts drive emotions. Emotions drive behaviors. A behavior is either going to give you a consequence or a reward. And that consequence or reward will then drive a feedback loop. Either you then solidify that thought, which is unfortunate if it's a negative thought, or positive if it's a good one, or you change the thought. The funny thing is, think about this example we've all had. Thought, I am so overweight, I need to lose weight, even my fat jeans don't fit me, and we talked last podcast about that everyone has a pain threshold.
Yes.
That point they get to where they're in so much pain, it goes past the threshold of what they're willing to tolerate, and then they take massive action and make a change.
Yep.
Well, the thought is, I've hit my pain threshold, I have to lose weight. Their emotion is then this overwhelming desire and excitement to do the right things.
Right.
Their behavior is they do the right thing. And then the reward is they lose weight.
Right.
You would think that would drive a feedback loop.
You would think.
But it can drive a new thought, which is, oh, I can eat that. I'm down 10 pounds. Or I'm doing so well.
Yep.
I can eat this as a reward.
And self-sabotage.
And drives a different feedback loop. So then that drives the emotion towards pleasure of eating the sweets. That drives the consequence of up 5 pounds. And they go, whoop, I got to lose weight. That's typically the feedback loop that people are really stuck in.
Yes.
But they've never put it on paper. They've never put words to it. They never realized that story, which a story is just a string of thoughts.
Right.
And the words you speak are just thoughts you speak out loud. So we have your beliefs are your stories, your thoughts. So all of that is in this first part of the formula.
Right.
Is that you have to change that thought. If somebody in that moment said, wait, I've lost weight because I haven't eaten this.
Right.
Wait,
which is common sense, but
I know I should reward myself with something else. Why don't I go buy something that fits right now that motivates me even more? Or why don't I put $100 for every 10 pounds I lose, whatever it is.
Right.
And they change their thought. Now the behavior isn't eat the sweets. It totally changes without you having to focus on the food. People say to me constantly, I'm so sick of focusing on food. I hate that I feel obsessed with food. Are you going to put me on a diet where I have to constantly think about food? No, I'm going to put you on a diet where you have to constantly think about what you're thinking
what
about.
Your thoughts are. Yeah.
You have to constantly check in with your thoughts. This is why it is impossible not to have permanent weight loss be enmeshed with a spiritual path.
Yes.
your spiritual path means that more consciousness to the voice inside of your head, that you're beginning the practice and using spiritual tools such as patience, forgiveness, awareness, inventory, meditation, journaling, just a higher awareness in general to what you're thinking, to what's controlling you.
So where does a person start that has been stuck in this feedback loop that's not healthy at all for decades? I mean, they've been like, and they're hearing you say all these things, and they're like, okay, I get it, but where do I even start breaking that habit?
Here's where you start. Take the topic that you struggle the most with, and then write on a piece of paper, thoughts I think about my body, losing weight, marriage, finances, financial freedom. Then without judgment, just dump the vomit of what it is. Think about person A and person B. Person A has come from an experience where that they've always been thin. And now perhaps it's not weight that they need to lose, but they're sick in some way and they need to eat healthier. Person B has always had a struggle with weight loss. And they both sit down and write on a piece of paper, thoughts I think about dieting or weight loss, whatever. Think about how different their story is going to be based on their experience.
Totally.
If you caught me 15 years ago and I said, thoughts I think about dieting, I would say, prison.
Yes.
Can't do it. So weak-willed, failure, worst thing ever, obsession. Now that I've done all this work to change my thoughts, if I write thoughts I think about dieting, I just write neutral, thought shifting, spiritual path, loving boundaries is something that I put on there. I don't call it dieting. Everybody needs to be on a diet. Listen, you go to the store and there's an entire aisle in Whole Foods. So we're not even talking about, H-E-B.
H-E-B. Yeah. I was gonna say, let's just say H-E-B because we're in Texas.
I don't know. What's in Florida? There's an entire potato chip aisle and they're organic, kettle, whatever. You have to have boundaries around food because we know that certain foods, I eat potato chips and serotonin goes and dopamine go off of my brain. It's like, I can't just go with, I'm going to consciously eat these things. So I want you to write down all the thoughts that you think about that particular subject you're struggling with. And then I want you to put a star by anything that needs to be reframed. If you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to be nicer to yourself and you have thoughts I think about my body and it says big fat whale. Put a star by that.
You think?
Riddled with cellulite. Put a star by that. Start to look into, what does that mean? Who said cellulite was bad? You don't have to lie to yourself. I'm not saying that you should look in the mirror when you're obviously unhappy with your body and go, oh, hey, you hot piece of tush. I'm not saying that would feel inauthentic. What about looking at your body and saying, every day I'm working towards something better. This is where I am right now, but tomorrow I'm going to be one step better. It's a reframe. It's so much more positive and empowering. I the other day was exercising and I was feeling really out of shape. And I said to myself, the voice in my head said, ugh, you're so out of shape. You're so weak. And I reframed it and I said, right now you're getting stronger. It's simple. It's a simple reframe. It's not simple to do, but it's a simple reframe because you're out of shape. It's a new habit. You're getting stronger. Right. And none of this stuff is simple. If it was simple, we'd all be walking around with complete peace of mind all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was in this rant, this negative thought rant, and I could feel the emotion. The emotions are simultaneous with thoughts. Thought, emotion, and then the feedback loop. Then the emotion tells you how to think. I stopped in the middle and said, I'm probably not the only practitioner in the world who's had a baby and then has come back to a thriving practice. That immediately just gave me
changed everything.
I said, okay.
And nothing physically happened except for you changed your thought.
No, the baby stayed the same.
Maybe got a little bigger, right?
But I just completely calmed and I took a deep breath and I thought everything is figure outable. And here's another one of my core beliefs. The universe loves me and is conspiring in my favor.
Yes.
I'm doing good things. There's no reason why I wouldn't be rewarded for that.
Yes.
And we'll see, and we'll see and we'll figure it out. And just shifting that, I interrupted my rant, which is what I'm asking everyone listening to do, is that mental rant. You don't have to be physically saying it, but you're in the car. All the times you do the mundane stuff.
Yes.
That's when the mind really takes over. You're driving, you're showering, you're brushing your teeth. A lot of times when you watch TV, you might even notice the rant. Is interrupt it right away and use your emotions as a touchstone. Now, the next level and the final part to this formula is really breaking down the emotion piece a little bit more.
Okay.
There are over some scientists say over 1,000 different emotions you could feel. Let's just say that there are hundreds of emotions you can feel.
Right.
The primal part of our brain breaks these emotions down into either pain or pleasure, which we talked about last time. Either this emotion is driving me pleasure and I want to continue to feel it, or this emotion is driving pain and I want to do anything in my power to fight or flight and avoid it. Now you start to look at thought drives either pleasure or pain, then drives behavior. So when I say, when you said you went home for Christmas, there was something in the thought pattern of, I'm home. This food feels so much like home. This food means a vacation. Whatever that was, it drove an emotion. And whatever that emotion was, is a pleasurable towards eating that food.
Yes, 100%.
When someone's not working out, there's an emotion they feel that is driving a pain towards the behavior.
Yes.
That's the real deep piece of the emotional part of this formula, is that the reason why our behaviors are the way they are is because we are feeling a certain way. Our thoughts are driving a pain or pleasure association to the behavior, which conjures up an emotion that drives it. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. And I think that people should do this homework with every single category in their life that they're struggling with, or so not just your health and fitness, but I mean, relationships. I mean, I just think back, I was actually having this conversation with my mom this morning as I was getting ready. She was hanging out with me as I was getting ready before driving here to Austin. And, I used to have the mindset that in my previous relationships, I really, especially one particular relationship, the last thing he said to me was, I'm 100% at fault. And for the longest time, I believed that. And then looking back, I'm like, there's so many things that I could have done differently. And it all started with this process. It's crazy. But I think that, obviously most people that listen to the Fitz and Healthy podcast initially stop because they want to become more fit and more healthy. And so I think that the topic that most people are going to start with is their own eating habits. And
the desire is there for people, but what they haven't looked at is that they have a bunch of subconscious and conscious thoughts about health. So they go, I really want this. But when they write down thoughts, I think about exercising 5 days a week, juicing my own greens, not eating sugar, they're going to see that there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of stories that need to be reframed. This is the constant feeling of that contradictory nature of, I want this thing so badly, but I'm not willing to do those things. And it's not that they're not willing. They're willing if they could scramble the mind to associate pleasure to the things. We're always willing to do things that are pleasurable. But if we deem something as painful, we're not going to do it.
Man, and that makes, I actually being home in Waco for the holidays, I got to see some of my old high school friends and I went to coffee with two of them, and both of them are moms of young kids, and they were talking about doing my whole foods based, high fat, low carb, moderate protein group that I'm starting next week, and they're like, but it's just, I mean, and constantly the lack of time, the challenge with kids, the challenge with feeding a family, and all of these things that, I mean, it was all associated with pain.
And thoughts I think about doing the challenge. So much time, and how many kids, and they're not going to do it, but they're not they're not weak-willed, they're not lazy. It's not
No.
that they don't want it bad enough. It's that those are their stories. And if they plug it into the formula, it's so clear as to why they wouldn't do it.
Yep.
We were even just talking about before the podcast, you said, I have such bad allergies here. There's no way I'd never move back. That thought will drive that.
Yes.
You know? And so guess what? What if you had to move back to Waco to take care of your parents? You would have to reframe that.
I would.
If you have to lose weight because you have diabetes, if you have to lose weight because you don't want to be emotionally in pain anymore of not being happy with what you see in the mirror, you don't have a choice. You have to reframe it.
Yeah.
You have to say something else to drive the behavior. Don't just try to force yourself to do the behavior because it will never be permanent.
And that's where people start. They start with
behavior modification.
Yeah. Well, it's New Year's Day. I'm going to go join a gym.
Yeah.
It's New Year's Day and I'm going to cut out sugar instead of thinking to the root of, okay, let's see what got me here first.
Yeah. There are also some legit you can do to, so there's the mind work, which is you just have to change the way you're thinking.
Right.
What you were just saying of, I'm going to join a gym. Yeah. Sit down and say, if I join a gym, what will this create for me in my life? What if I don't work out? What will that create for me? What will be taken away from me? If I live the rest of my life at this weight and I never lose another pound, will I be okay with that? If I lose the weight, what will my life look like? We start to just conjure up these emotions.
Yes.
And we get into peak emotional state. We get really empowered, and that's what's going to drive it. So that's the mind work.
Yeah.
Then there are just some logistics that can help you. Once you put it into the formula, you can see it can help you drive more pleasure to the behavior.
Okay.
For me, every time I cook, I watch a movie or I listen to music.
Okay.
I'm just driving more pleasure to it. It's
in the cooking
logistical.
process.
Yes.
Because that's the process that most people
hate doing.
Yeah.
I also batch cook, which I make 2 meals at once. One meal is always in a crock pot or on the grill, depending on the weather.
Okay.
And then the other one I'll make because it saves time. So time is a huge story for people.
It is.
It's a huge pain point for people.
It really is.
And we know that health takes time.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
There's no way around
Unless
it.
you want to pay somebody else for their time, it's going to take time.
And that costs a lot of money.
It takes time or money.
Yep.
You really only have 3 resources. You have time, money, and other people. And if you don't want to make the time, you're going to have to employ somebody else and probably pay them.
Yeah.
But if not, give me the name of that person.
Yeah. I know, right? Me too.
Because I will take advantage of them just like you are.
Exactly.
For me, logistically, my time is so sensitive. I threw some money at the situation and built a gym in the garage because I didn't even want the 15 minutes back and forth to the gym. That's a half hour of my day. Yeah. And it was driving a story for me that I don't have time. Yep. So when I started to do the inventory as to why I'm not exercising consistently, I said, well, it's a time thing. I could reframe it and say that 15 minutes, I could call a person, I could listen to a podcast. If I had to do the mind work, if you live in a place that you don't have a garage, do the mind work.
Right.
But if I always want you to think logistically, can you make it easier on yourself? Listen, if you hate your mother-in-law, too effing bad.
Exactly.
Be grateful that she birthed a son or daughter that you love
deemed
and
worthy enough to marry.
Correct. And use her as a spiritual teacher to practice your patience, compassion, and to learn how you don't want people. Do the mind work. But if you have a friend that is toxic and not serving you in your life, logistically, you can cut that person out.
Yeah.
Logistically, you can shift something to drive a better formula to where your behaviors feel more in alignment with the way you want to live your life. Whenever I'm not feeling well or I did a behavior that I don't like and I'm doing the inventory on this and I'm working backwards and I'm looking at my thought, I think logistically, can I change this? Or do I just need to reframe and do the mind work around this? Those are your 2 choices. You really don't have any other choice.
Right.
Or
you can't change your mother-in-law. You can't change your mother-in-law.
You can't change people. You really, you can't change others. You can only influence them. And you can't influence them if you're judging them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't influence them if you're not doing the thing that you want them to do. Typically, the people that really annoy us are a mirror.
Yeah.
And there's some aspect of, oh, I can't stand this person. They're so selfish.
Most listeners will relate with that because I know I can.
Ate a big fat slice of emotion.
Yep. Exactly.
Just stuff that anxiety right down. And I will never quote Dr. Phil ever again, but I remember circa 1995, I was, I love Oprah when he was on Oprah, so therefore by proxy, I love him. And I remember him saying, trying to stuff your emotions down with a beach ball. It's kind of like trying to push one of those pool balls underwater. It just comes right back up.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
And it's the same thing with trying to eat our emotions. It's like, I feel better. Nope. Now I feel bad again.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like it's not that. It's up again.
That's a brilliant analogy.
I know, Dr. Phil. There's a reason why he's still on TV, folks.
Good point.
It's not because he has great hair.
Yeah, no.
Unlike us.
Yeah. Ours is looking quite natural, curly today. No, but like because I've always said that my world is a judge-free zone, and without realizing it, it's because I want to be able to influence people,
right.
And you can't influence people if there is judgment there. And then ultimately, that one question I get from so many of my clients is, how do I get my spouse on board, or how do I get my in-laws or parents, especially at the age that I'm at, people's parents are either they've been healthy their whole lives and are still healthy, or now it's starting to catch up with them and they're having the heart attacks and the strokes and the consequences of and they want to help change their parents' lives or whomever. But the fact is, if you are not living that example, you can't influence them at all. And at the end of the day, you only can control yourself and your thoughts. And it starts with your thoughts.
Yeah. And take a look at what their thoughts are. I know my father, 25.
Yeah.
His thought is, I'm too old.
Yes.
It's too late for me.
Yes.
That's going to drive an emotion of pain or pleasure to do the hard thing. Pain. It's pleasurable to do the easy thing, especially if he's already decided he's too old and he might as well just enjoy. He says, I might as well just enjoy the rest of my life. Well, he and I have a different definition of enjoy. So if I wrote down a piece of paper thoughts like enjoying your life, I would say, well, your body has to be in, and he means enjoy, eat whatever he wants. So he means enjoy in the moment. I mean enjoy every other second of the day that you're not eating that food. Every time he gets up, he makes a noise. Every time his knee hurts, this hurts, he's overweight. I can't influence him to change a behavior unless he's open and willing to shift that story and reframe his concept of what it would mean to enjoy the rest of his life. Man,
that is brilliant. That's so true. It's retelling a new story.
When it comes to stories and thoughts, I feel like, because I've seen thousands and thousands of clients over the last 10 years, there are only 4 or 5 stories. They all take on slightly different avenues.
Right.
But there's the I don't care story, the lie told honestly, because of course you care. That's why you're listening to this podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, true.
Yeah. I care more about this than I do most things in my life. But in the moment I say, I don't care. I'm just going to eat this. The I deserve this story. The it's too late.
Yep.
The I'll start tomorrow.
That just spoke to like 98% of the audience.
You gotta live.
Yep.
Which is the same story as I'll start tomorrow.
Yep.
And I just noticed there's not enough hours in a day. It's too hard. I'm not enough. I'll never get there. And it's the same stuff. This is why the spiritual path of it is that what your relationship with food is really a reflection of your relationship with other things. Yeah. When you feel like it's never enough there, you're also going to feel like it's never enough in your relationship. You're also going to feel like you're never doing enough work-wise and you always have to be promoted or make more money, or you start to see a thread. Yeah. This is what's so amazing about looking at food, not from a diet perspective, although we're not saying you shouldn't diet.
Right.
Instead of just focusing on the behavior and the food, and you start to look at your thoughts, you go, how I think about this is actually how I think about this other goals for people is to be happy and at peace.
Yes.
It's why we do anything.
Absolutely.
My job, what is causing suffering for people, whether it's physical suffering or emotional suffering, and then to get people to shift their core beliefs, their stories, their thoughts to a place where they're limiting and or ideally eliminating their suffering.
Yeah.
If I have to then, now my father, he's not going to change his thoughts and I'm not going to influence him. I have to change my thoughts.
Yeah.
I have to say, you know what, this is his dharma. This is his life lesson. This is not me.
Right.
If he has to die younger than he would have.
Right.
And I'm not going to say should because it's
Right.
how it should be.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm not going to say younger than he should have, but younger than he could have, or that when by the time he gets older, his last 5 years, he's in pain. That's his path.
Yeah.
I'm going to reframe it to say, I'm here to support my father. I'm here to love him unconditionally.
Yep.
I'm here to let him teach me how I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I'm here that to look at him as a spiritual teacher, to look at my own path and see if there's aspects of my life where I use that same, I want to enjoy. How do I use that? Do I use it with money? Do I use it with clothes? Do I use it with watching TV? Because if it bothers me, there's something that I do with it at the same time. And then I change my thoughts, which changes my emotion around it. And then the way I behave around him or to him is different. This formula is not specific. Behavior with interpersonal communication, behavior with your finances. There's a thought that someone has when they say, well, I'll put it on a credit card. Or I'm in so much debt, I'll never get out anyway. So it's the same story as I'm overweight, I'll never lose the weight.
Yes.
It's the same thing. If you want to limit suffering in your life, you have to look at your thoughts. You have to be willing to reframe them, using your emotions as a gift and as a time to let you know where you are and the spiritual work that needs to be done.
I love that, seeing your emotions as a gift instead of a curse. I mean, truly,
they really are.
That is the beginning of changing your mind frame around everything. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here, January 2018, your top 3 places to start, recommendations for a person that is speaking, you are speaking to their soul, like I'm ready to make changes. What are the first 3 they do?
The first thing I can think of is start logging your thoughts.
I like that.
And I'm all for keeping a food journal. I'm a huge proponent of you can't manage what you don't measure.
Yes.
I forbid people count calories or weighing their foods, but I always say if you want to lose weight, write down what you eat. Right. So there's an awareness about it.
Yes.
The step before that, since that's behavior, the step before that for people is start to write down what were your top 3 thoughts for today. That would be their daily journal.
I like that.
My top 3 thoughts for today. And maybe they can't identify the thoughts. Sometimes people are not really into the thoughts. Then do emotions. My top 3 emotions today were rushed, stressed, and frustrated. Okay, then go into that. You were frustrated because there's the thought.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I went to work and then I wrote this email. Okay, well, there's your story.
Right.
So first thing is start by every day jotting down 3 emotions or 3 thoughts and then starting to reframe them. The second thing would be, instead of writing down goals, and I am a proponent of writing down goals, why don't you just write down and do the work around one thing you want to change this month? Focus on one thing. I want to drink more water. I want to set up
trying to change everything this month.
Yeah, because then you're one of those people and it's mid-February and you've lost it all and you're like, ew, I'm that statistic.
Yet again, year after year. Yep.
And, the third thing is have a morning practice.
So true.
And that should be top 3 for any question that anybody asks me, honestly.
So true.
The morning practice can be anything. For somebody, it could be a 10-minute yoga actual practice. For me, it's a meditation and an intention setting practice where I decide what emotions do I want to carry through the day.
Yeah.
My goal is always to make a Monday feel like a Saturday.
I like that.
Even this morning, I woke up. This is the beginning of my week.
Right.
And I said, literally, the thought that the voice in my head said to me is, I cannot wait till Friday so I can get this done.
Yes.
And the stuff for me is all the stuff when I'm not in private practice. So
Right.
coaching clients is just what I do during the day. And then
Right.
it's like, I have to write the book. I have to do all this stuff. And so I go, oh, I can't wait till Friday so I can get all this stuff done. And I just stopped. And I thought, emotionally, how does that feel? Plus, I don't want to live my life like that.
No.
That's a lot of suffering.
Yes.
And then I'm invalidating the experience that I have in the present moment with my clients, which is really why I started this whole thing, is to have
exactly.
that. And so I reframed right away and said, I'm going to treat today as if it were the only day that I could focus on. Not the last day of my life, because I wouldn't go to work.
Right. For the record.
Because then I need ice cream. So
Yeah.
when people go, live like it's the last day, I'm like, well, then I'm going to eat fries every single day and spend all my money. So that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But I'm going to live like this is the only day that I need to focus on.
Yeah.
And that was my quick reframe. So there are the three things. One is write down your three thoughts or emotions that you're having and starting to do the reframe. The second one is focus on one thing. Don't make the whole new year you. What's one thing that would really improve the way you feel and limit your suffering, and really focus on that and journal about that every day. What did you do?
Right.
What do you wish you'd better? What are you going to do tomorrow? And then the third thing is have a morning practice that has some sort of intention setting, something to ground you, to allow you to quiet the voice in your head and allow that awareness to come through. And it can simply be, because I find this to be very powerful, it's just waking up and saying, today I'm not going to be a conditioned reaction to my day. Today I'm going to decide how I want to feel, how I want to think, how I want to behave. What is the emotion that I want to bring throughout my day? Take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
See how your day changes and take control.
Take control of it. Oh my gosh. Carly, seriously, if I lived here, we would totally be besties.
I know. So
like for real.
I'll give you allergy medication. It'll be fine.
My parents would love you just to
I'm going to call them. We're going to get
every time I come home to Texas, they're like,
listen,
you know, Austin's calling you.
It's cheaper to live here.
Oh gosh, you're not kidding. I just did last week. I'm like, oh goodness, Cali is quite expensive.
And how come the thought of doing your taxes has not driven you and changed your behavior so that you moved to Austin so that we could hang out all the time? What is wrong with you? And that's not a question. That is a judgment.
Exactly.
With a question mark at the end.
So obviously, Fitz and Healthy podcast people are huge fans of yours already. But for those that are listening to you for the first time, let everyone know where they can find you and all of that kind of good stuff.
They can find me. The website right now is nutritionalwisdom.com.
Right now.
We're making a carlypollack.com as well, awesome. But nutritionalwisdom.com. And from there, they can sign up for my weekly email, which is really great information. And social media, I am at Carly Pollack on Instagram. I'm at Nutritional Wisdom. We have quite a following at Nutritional Wisdom on Facebook. So just checking out both of those avenues.
Cool. You're seriously a breath of fresh air. I just want to
love
say,
ya.
I want to acknowledge you for just your awesomeness, and
thank you
for taking the time on this first work day of the year.
I know I just focused, but not anymore. I feel great.
I love it. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you haven't gone and subscribed to Healthy Podcast, please go do that. Leave a review, because that would be even better, and I would love you even more. And thank you guys so much. Happy New Year to everyone listening, and we will see you next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Make sure that you find us on social media. You can find Cinthanie on Instagram and Facebook at Cinthanie. So that's CINTHANIE, and on Snapchat at Cinthanie P. And find me on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Club Fitz Fitness. Remember, that's FITZ Fitness. And on Snapchat, just at Club Fitz. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review, and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now, go live a Fitz and Healthy life.